It's really good.
Yeah. So let's talk about death.
Oh, God.
So it's The Walking Dead season 3, episode 4, Killer Within. It's quite an iconic episode. I'm going to do the plot summary and then we'll talk about it. So plot summary from Wikipedia says, Michonne tries to convince Andrea to leave Woodbury while Merle presses her for information on Daryl. At the prison, walkers are unleashed upon the group. T-Dog is bitten and sacrifices himself so that Carol can escape, but she seemingly dies too. Oscar and Axel help Rick, Daryl, and Glenn search for the others. They find Andrew, who survived and sought revenge upon them, but Oscar kills him. Meanwhile, Lori goes into labor and becomes trapped within the halls of the prison. Maggie is forced to perform a C-section to save the baby, and Lori dies in childbirth. Carl shoots Lori to prevent reanimation. As the survivors regroup, Rick is devastated. In case you forgot what happened in this episode. I mean, I forgot a few things because the Lori death scene is really what stands out. So I kind of forgot that T-Dog died in this one.
Yeah, I forgot how he died. I had it in my head he died down in the tombs. Well, he does die down in the tombs, but I thought he got bit down there. I forgot that he sacrifices himself to close the gate for everyone, which is heartbreaking. I
just thought of this as the Lori death episode, so I wasn't even thinking about poor old T-Dog. And then I forgot that this was the one where Glenn and Maggie were doing it in the guard tower. And I forgot that it was Oscar that killed Andrew.
Yeah, Oscar. I want to talk about Oscar today. Yeah.
We'll talk about all that. But how was it to watch this one again?
Oh, yeah, just
watched it together
harrowing. Just really harrowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Do you consider it a good episode, or
I think it's
just a bummer?
I think it's a great episode of The Walking Dead because we still care so much and it's still really impactful and it's so formative for everyone going forward, especially for Carl and Rick. Because Carl's he's on a little dark road at this point, and I think this, it doesn't help, but I think ultimately he does remember his mum's words about being good and doing what's right, and it's very emotional, and it breaks Rick. Like, Rick's gone. He's done at this point for a little while.
Can't even stand on his 2 feet. So he's so devastated.
Although meme culture has kind of ruined that scene a little bit.
That scene launched 1,000 memes. And
it did.
Back then, I always say the Lori death scene is the most emotional scene in The Walking Dead for me. I always get choked up watching it. But Rick's reaction is close to that too. I get choked up watching that. And I did watching it again last night. But also, you just think about all those memes.
I know.
Telling dumb dad jokes.
If you've been living under a rock for the last 10 years, check out Rick Grimes' dad jokes meme and you'll know what we mean.
Well, let's see. I had a couple. Let me see if I can find them.
Oh, no.
These are the ones that came up. Probably these are the best ones, which will tell you how bad they are. So usually there's like 3 or 4 panels that show Rick just getting closer and closer to Carl with that crying look on his face.
Well, Carl right
in his face,
stares off into the distance, dead inside.
No dad. So Rick says, so I tried making a pencil with an eraser at both ends. And Carl says, Dad, I swear. And Rick says, but then I realized it was pointless. And then he bends down. It was pointless, Carl. I got 2 more. What? Rick says, this one time you swallowed some coins and we had to take you to the hospital. We asked the nurse how you were doing and she said, there's been no change. Then he bends down. Been no change, Carl. And here's the last one. Why did the chicken cross the road? Carl says, why? Rick says, to get to the ugly guy's house. Then Rick says, knock, knock. And Carl says, who's there? And Rick says, the chicken. Then he moves it closer. Carl says, stop. And he goes, it's the chicken, Carl.
It's such a good meme format. I can't.
I know. When I first saw those, I was kind of offended. Like, you're soiling such a moment, but it's pretty funny.
It's too good.
Yeah, I thought it was so intense and tragic and maybe a bit misery porn. That might be a little bit where I am a little different now that I'm like, God, they're just raking these guys over the coal just for drama and entertainment. But it's still a great episode.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you put a little pressure on the logic of it. You're like, could they really? The buzzing had stopped. Like there's a
Oh, I know.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I actually watched it twice. I watched it a couple days ago. And I was thinking that too. And then I heard you say, can't they just, because Carl said, let me go get help. And Lori said, no.
Yeah.
and then they had to kill her. And then they just left. They just walked out.
Yeah.
And Maggie and Carl and Judith just went right out. And I'm like, maybe they could have done that a few minutes ago and at least tried, look around the corner and see if the coast is clear.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's all for the drama.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that biologically, said Lucy, he's not a doctor of science. I remember the first time we saw this episode, a close friend of mine was pregnant, and she was like, yeah, it wasn't a great episode to watch while I was pregnant. But she's like, but then I looked it up, and I think that your body is actually quite good at not letting you go into labor in life or death situations, because it's like, little primordial brain of like survival. So who's to say? One
thing that TV shows often do is they rush how long labor takes.
Yeah.
It takes hours. And I was telling you guys yesterday, but just for the listeners, when Jenny went into labor with Nico, she's a doctor, so she knew she would be giving birth at the same hospital that she works at. So she started having contractions. She went in, did a full day's work, and then had the baby.
Just like Lori, pants off, bleeding everywhere, but like, hold on a second. Yeah, hold on a second. It's really traumatic. Nico was there. It was great. Everyone loved it.
So let's get into our points. What do you got?
Well, my first point is, so off the back of that, Maggie in this episode, man. Hero, but also has to go through absolute hell. Like, she's so in control in those moments and she's so good with Carl, but what Lori asks her to do is awful. Like, it's really bad, and she's not like morally bad, but just like it's a lot to ask of somebody. And Maggie like takes the helm and is in control and delivers Judith. And I remember in season 10 when Maggie reappears, there's this really nice kind of silent moment where she and Judith see each other. And I remember when I watched season 10, I was like, oh shit, yeah, Maggie delivered Judith.
Yeah, I know. I remember that too.
And it was just this really meaningful moment, because Judith must know that as well.
I'd hope so.
But yeah, Maggie's just, we start the episode with her and Glenn in the tower. They've clearly moved out of the cell block a little bit to have some private time. She's eye rolling at the guys giving them shit about you coming. And her dad's just been through this big, horrible amputation, and he nearly died. So she takes Lori into the prison with Carl. They try to get to the cell block, but it's overrun, and they end up in the tombs. I was saying they were in the generator room, but I think it's actually a boiler room, because I think Rick goes to the generator room.
Yeah, that's what it's called in the wiki, the boiler room.
The boiler room. Maggie, I did laugh that her first thing was like, gotta get your pants off. I'm like, I mean, yes, but like, how undignified.
And the way she was standing there, Lori, having contractions and labor pains, that reminded me of Jenny in the hospital. I was with her, we were taking a walk down the hall, and she's all, hold on a second, and she goes over to the side and holds on to the railing and just bears down for a second. They're not pushing, but just in having a contraction. It seemed really similar, and I thought that was a little element of realism, because usually in birth scenes they're always laying down.
Yeah, the TV and movies have sold us completely incorrectly how women want to give birth. I don't think it's supernatural to be lying back with your legs in stirrups, just quietly going through what's happening. Like, you want to stand up, you want to be on all fours, you want to be moving around. And I thought Sarah Wayne Callies really sold it.
Yeah, she was so good.
She was so good.
Was really good throughout this whole thing.
I think she based it on her own birth experience, but I'm hoping her own birth experience wasn't that bad.
She has kids?
Yeah, she has one, I think.
I don't think I knew that.
So Maggie, it starts off kind of like, she asks Carl, are you ready to help with your baby brother or sister? So it's not like lighthearted, because it's obviously a really traumatic situation, but they're treating it like a normal delivery. And then it becomes apparent that something is wrong, because Laurie's bleeding a lot. And then, of course, we see Laurie down on the ground. She's losing consciousness. Laurie's decided at that point that she's dying. She knows. And I think I read in the IMDb facts that from Sarah Wayne Callies' perspective, Laurie knew it was a death sentence. She knew she wasn't going to get out alive, and that was what she'd always been thinking up to this point. Which is, it gives you an interesting way of looking at this performance.
Well, yeah, I mean, Because we talked about this a little bit before, but I thought that the reason why they set it up so that she was separate from Herschel is to suggest that if she was with Herschel, maybe she could have survived,
Yeah.
But you're saying she didn't think that.
I don't think she did. Because the kind of complication she's having, it doesn't look like one that you could without serious modern medicine.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So maybe it didn't matter.
Because Maggie's saying, I have no anesthetic, no equipment, and Laurie's just saying, my baby has to survive.
Yeah.
I think Laurie's not surprised by any of this. But Maggie's performance, man, she is so overwhelmed and so in control at the same time. She apologizes to Laurie before she does it, but then she's very calm in terms of getting Carl to help her get the baby out. I'd forgotten that Judith's a little quiet when she's born, so Maggie has to kind of massage her to get her crying.
Yeah. Well, that moment, I think they were deliberately trying to make us think the baby was stillborn. And it was awful because they made it last a long time. And I think that would have been such a bleak
oh my God
occurrence, right?
So
but they left the baby silent long enough for us to just be like, what's
happening?
And then,
thank God. Little ass kicker. And I'd forgotten that Maggie tries to get Carl to take Judith so that she can put Laurie down, because Laurie says to Maggie, it can't be Rick. Like, it doesn't cross her mind that it might be Carl. And Carl says she's my mom, and Maggie lets him.
Like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I know. I think Maggie's like, I'm done. Like, I got to get out of here. So Maggie leaves. We hear the shot, and Carl walks past her, and Maggie's just like horrified. And in this whole courtyard scene where we're focused on Rick and Carl, Maggie's freaking out. She's holding this baby covered in blood. She's trying to stop Rick running into the prison. She looks devastated. When Rick tries to walk past her, she says, "No, Rick, no." Then we kind of cut to the dad meme scene, but Andrew Lincoln giving an amazing performance, rolling around on the ground. But Maggie just walks straight to Glenn and breaks down because she's just been through absolute hell and back. And
while you were watching it, you're like, can someone please hug Carl?
Oh my God, Carl's standing there like, and everyone's just looking at him. And I'm like, could someone give this kid a hug?
When you said that, I'm like, she's right. Like, they're all having their own things happening, so I can sort of forgive it. But it's like, that poor kid.
I mean, at least Daryl. Someone give him a hug. Like, he's standing there.
I was going to say T-Dog, but nope.
Nope, T-Dog. I was like, Carol's gone to Axel, I guess. I don't know. Like, you're okay, son. Axel was really there for me. I just thought Lauren Cohen did amazingly well in that scene. She's always given quite, like, I think of all the characters, she's given quite a lot of devastating stuff to react to, because there's her dad, there's Beth, there's Glenn. Like, she's the one who has to do the most sort of reacting devastation, living through suffering and torment. And I'm sort of like, no wonder Lauren Cohen wanted to leave the show for a little bit. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, you want a good media role, but
I know.
There's only so much you can take.
God, there's only so much misery you can take.
Yeah, and I mean, I like how she was reluctant, right, to do this, but it's like a lot of things on this show. It's like, no, I mean, we're stuck. We got to do the best we can in this situation. And that means rising to the occasion. And it's pretty rare that people don't rise to the occasion. I'm thinking of Father Gabriel. He sure didn't at first. We didn't get to see it, but leaving all his parishioners outside. But eventually he
did.
He rode up.
It made me think as well about what a big deal it was for her and Glenn to go on to have Herschel, because
they were making Herschel earlier in the day, and then she was delivering somebody else.
Glenn, I don't want to sleep with you for a while. Like, we're done. Like,
got those condoms?
Yeah, no. Like, we've still got one left. I mean, I think having a kid in the zombie apocalypse, like, you are taking your life in your hands, because there is a lot that could go wrong.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that
would be a big factor in my decision of whether to have a kid. If it's a zombie apocalypse, I'm pretty sure I would say, nah.
I mean, it's such...
No judgment, but personally, like, yeah.
We're so lucky now to live in a place where you can give birth safely and be fine. But for Maggie, I couldn't stop thinking, like, so she loses Glenn, and then she has to go through being pregnant and giving birth to Herschel on her own. I'm sure people were there when she gave birth to Herschel, but She must have been terrified. Like, she's seen just how bad it can go.
Did we not see that? I can't remember.
No, we time skip. Remember? Because there was that whole thing in season 8 where Maggie basically doesn't look pregnant.
She was pregnant for like 4 seasons or something.
And still had like a perfectly toned flat stomach and was like, yeah, morning sickness, whatever. Yeah, and I just thought, God, what a strong character Maggie Green and Maggie Rhee are. Yeah. Like, that takes a lot.
Like a lot of characters just forged in these kinds of experiences where you realize what you're capable of, you know?
It was a lot. And I just thought, you know what, Maggie, you stepped up to the plate in a situation where you're being asked to do something horrible. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kept calm. They were all pretty calm. I admired both of their performances, and I think that happens sometimes when you're in a really serious life or death situation. I mean, this isn't exactly the same, but I used to ride a motorcycle, and I had a couple of close calls, and I just remember I felt really focused. Like, what exactly do I need to do right now quickly to get out of this, you know? And not like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. You're not like lying on the ground like, oh no, oh my God, what am I going to do? You're like, okay. Yeah. Okay, adrenaline focuses the mind.
Yeah, you hope that's what will happen. You never know, though, when you
exactly
think about how would I be in these situations. Well, I'll just go ahead and talk about the whole birth then, since we're kind of on that.
Yeah.
Let me look through my notes. Maggie said Herschel taught her how to tell whether a woman in labor is dilated. And I'm like, I wonder how that conversation went. Well, listen here, Maggie.
Ew, Dad. Ew, ew.
You gotta learn this, honey. And then it's so intense just to have her going in labor right in the middle of this walker attack and blood all over her hand. Just like, oh my God, this episode is a lot.
It's so
it much. Really is. Then she needs a C-section, and Maggie's reluctant, and you know, she, like you said, Lori's like, my baby has to survive, my baby for all of us. And knowing that the baby ends up being Judith makes this have even more significance to us now, maybe than it did back then. Yeah. You know, I was thinking about Kaylee Fleming watching this, and also thinking about when Carol and Tyrese had Judith on the road with Lizzie and Mika, and Lizzie almost killed baby Judith and stuff.
Oh my God.
But mostly Kaylee Fleming's portrayal.
Oh, she's so great.
Yeah. So then Lori's talking to Carl, saying, take care of your daddy and your sister, and you're gonna beat this world, I know you will. And we were hopeful then, but now we're like, no, he doesn't.
I know.
For a little while he does, but that's sad, and that still just makes me mad at AMC. Then she says, you got to do what's right. You promised me you'll always do what's right. It's so easy to do the wrong thing in this world. If it feels easy, don't do it. Don't let the world spoil you. And I thought about two things this time when she was saying all that. One is, I think she has been worried that Carl's too aggressive and hard, going to be hardened in this world, and she doesn't want him to be like that. And maybe this is sort of the core of when he wrote that letter that I keep talking about to Rick later on, that sort of changed Rick's mind about how to be in this world, to be more civilized and more compassionate and stuff. Yeah. But also, I think she's saying, when she says, if it feels easy, don't do it, I think she's thinking about how she went with Shane too. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the most confusing bit about what she says, because sometimes the right thing is easy. Sometimes it's... Yeah, but I think it's a beautiful...
It is. Like, when it comes to, like, trusting your gut, sometimes the thing that feels... that your emotions are pushing you to do is not the right thing.
Yeah,
and exactly. Sometimes it is. So
exactly. Sometimes you got to hold that anger and be like, no, I'm not gonna.
Exactly. I'm gonna go to jail if I do what I feel like doing right now.
Exactly.
Then she says, my sweet boy, I love you. And I always cry during that part. And I think of how Chandler Riggs was just this little kid growing up doing this show and knew that Sarah Wayne Kelly's wasn't going to be around anymore. And so they probably both drew on that. I think they said they did in interviews and stuff.
Best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. It's such a good scene.
Oh, it's so good.
And then, you know, I mean, I always put a clip from the episode at the beginning of each podcast, and I tend to pick whatever feels like the juiciest, a certain moment, something that shows on what's in my mind about the episode, or that's funny or relevant or whatever. And so far for the rewatch, I'm pretty sure I haven't used the same clip that we originally did back then, because new things are interesting now. But in this episode, I can't imagine using anything but Lori's speech to Carl. We'll see. You guys will know whether I did or not when you're hearing this, but that seems like the main thing, right?
I believe I learned that Glenn Mazzara took that from like stuff his own mum had said, because he just lost his mum before this season aired. And sometimes when showrunners or writers put too much of themselves into it, it can make feel like a drag, but it works so well here. You needed someone who understood that pain of loss. And yeah, I mean, I hope he didn't lose his mum in these circumstances.
You know, you're reminding me, we had a couple interviews with Glenn Mazzara back in the day, and he may have talked about that in one of those. I'll try to remember to put links in the show notes for those.
I think that'd be, I'd be interested to listen to those.
So all the stuff about Maggie being a hero, and I was thinking this is T-Dog and Lori's last day, but it's Judith's first day. And
Judith's first day?
Yeah. And first appearance, and then Carl wants to be the one to shoot Lori, and that's just so devastating. And they play the sad Walking Dead music and everything, and then the flashback of Rick talking to him on the loft in the barn. People are going to die. I'm going to die, Mom. There's no way you can ever be ready for it. And here it is happening. But the tragic irony of that is that Carl dies later, and Rick's not ready for that after he was the one telling him.
There's no way you can ever be ready for it.
Yeah.
Carl also gives Judith his jacket as soon as she's born. He's wearing almost like a little Daryl vest situation. And he hands it over. It's very sweet. He's looking after her right from the start.
And later the hat
goes
to her. All right, what else?
All right. I mean, probably my least favorite part of this episode is the Woodbury stuff. It's still good. It's still interesting. We see the governor be a bit more quietly manipulative of Andrea, kind of convincing her into staying. We open with Michonne suspicious. She's checking out the tank. She seems to have figured out what has happened. You know, she says to the governor, "You think one soldier would drive away?" And the governor's like, "Those men were heroes." So we're starting to see just how duplicitous the governor is.
Yeah.
But also how willing Andrea is to believe him. And I'm not blaming Andrea because she is so the victim here of somebody who is a manipulator. And I don't think that Andrea deserves what happens in this season. And I'm going to try not to get sucked into the stupid bitch. But she's got the horn for him. She likes him. I mean, who can blame her?
So far, I'm trying to watch, like I said last time, for when it is that I do feel like, oh, come on, Andrea. But so far, I mean, Michonne doesn't trust him, and she's being a detective. These vehicles from these soldiers that you said got eaten by zombies have bullet holes in them.
CSI Michonne is this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and she's come up with a few different reasons that don't add up. But at least we don't see on screen her telling Andrea any of this.
No, we don't.
Right?
We really don't.
That's a factor. So far, in my opinion, everything that Andrea knows, I think it totally makes sense that not only would she be impressed with this guy and think, hey, this could be a great place to hole up for a while in the freaking zombie apocalypse, but also there's some chemistry and heat between them, and there's no shame in being attracted to somebody like that so far. At least that's my opinion.
And she's had such a glow up. In the first episode, she's like, living to die. And this episode, she's like, perfect curls, beautiful complexion, having a drink. I was just like, oh, Laurie Holden, live your best life. But yeah, Michonne and Andrea are being torn apart by the governor. Andrea wants to stay. And yeah, I'm with you. I don't blame her at this point. She asked Merle. Merle says he's a good guy. I mean, would you take Merle's judgment of character?
No.
I don't know. But Andrea, I guess, at this point knows Daryl better and is maybe thinking, well, if Daryl's decent, maybe Merle's not so bad.
I don't know. I mean, it confused me that when Merle's like, so baby, why didn't we ever hook up? That Andrea's smiling at that.
I took it as kind of playful. I think she was like, yeah, right, Merle.
Yeah, I guess so. But the way we know what happened with Merle before on the roof, you would think that she'd just be like, this guy's a fucker.
This guy's a dick.
Anyway, I mean, when Merle said that the governor's not a bad guy, you could take that up two ways. One is that he's lying, but I think he just has a different kind of an idea of what a good guy and a bad guy is.
I think Merle's in awe of the governor. Yeah. I think he's genuinely... Until Daryl gets involved, I think he looks up to the governor and thinks the decisions he makes are pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, even though he knows how cutthroat the governor is and can be, he's like, that's what you need to do. It's good.
The governor has Merle to heal. Having seen what we've seen of Merle in season 1, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Andrea does point out that Merle called her a whore and a rug muncher, which is lovely. But Merle seems to say, oh yeah, I've got away with words or something like that. Mm-hmm. But they seem to be bonding through the loss of siblings, you know. Andrea's helping him by giving him a map to the farm, saying she'd want the same thing if it was her family out there. And Merle, I think, sees how hurt she was by being left behind from the group. He says, you really was cut loose, wasn't you? We both got left behind by the same people and saved by another. Mm-hmm. So there's that bond there between the two of them.
And when he's asking her, are you curious about the old gang? And that's when he sees her reaction. But I don't blame her for not being curious, thinking about, because the only one she really had any kind of connection with, as far as we saw, were Amy, Dale, and Shane. And they're all gone.
She doesn't know that Shane's dead, though.
Oh, well,
she finds that out later. But
maybe he'd be like, yeah, maybe she'd be like, I could find Shane.
She's like, Shane? Anyone?
Actually,
Shane?
you might think that she might be interested in trying to find Shane, but that would be
She's met the governor now.
Yeah,
she's like, nah, I got a new man.
Yeah, that's true. True.
And it's sad to see Michonne being treated like the boy who cried wolf when actually she's completely right. And Michonne is suggesting going to the coast. She's suggesting all these sensible things. And Andrea, I think, has made her mind up, and Michonne can see that. Mm-hmm. And it's sad. It's sad that he gets between the two of them like this, because I don't think they ever really reconcile until the very last moments of Andrea's life. And it's clearly, knowing what we know about Michonne now, it clearly takes a lot for her to open up to people, and she clearly loves Andrea. And it just sucks. It sucks when a man comes between friends.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in the zombie apocalypse and I met someone super cool, like, you know, Michonne, but let's say it's a guy, just to do the whole gender swap thing, and then we found this town and I was like, oh man, this is freaking great, and then the leader of the town was this woman who I was attracted to and seemed attracted to me, and I'd known Michonne for a few months, I'd be like, well, thank you, I'm going to stay here. I hope you stay with me. You know, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to follow you around forever.
You're my best friend.
Because Andrea's like, what are we going to do? We're going to like live together.
We're going to a boat, maybe? I don't know. I get seasick.
Wouldn't everybody go to the island though? I don't know.
So yeah, Woodbury. And obviously the governor and Andrea have a sexy little whiskey together. And
yes. And it looked like the governor was going to kiss her. He came in.
Yeah.
But then like, I'm just opening the door, and he knew that would like raise her temperature.
He is playing her like a violin, but it's working. It would, you know, who can blame her?
That's what I think. I don't know if you. I don't want to like. Do you think at this point she should know better?
No, I don't think. Not this early on. I think she's been through too much, and we're less than a year into the apocalypse. We don't quite know what people are capable of yet, and he presents so well at this point. Like, we know going in as readers of the comic and viewers of the show that there's going to be more to it. Andrea's got no reason to think that at this point, especially not when it presents so well and offers you. There's probably willful ignorance of some red flags because you're getting a hot shower and a bed.
Yeah.
Who can blame her for that?
The biggest one for me is that he seems to be making excuses to keep them there. But in this episode, he says, okay, Merle's going to be there with your weapons. Sorry to see you go, and who knows, you know, if they would have just left, he might have sent his mercenaries right after them to kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he would have. Yeah. I do think.
But she doesn't know that.
Yeah, she doesn't know that. Yeah, I don't hold this one against her.
And then Merle, like, he's got Merle more under his grasp, so he can be more overt with Merle. I don't know if the flirting would work with Merle anyway, but he just, like, Merle wants to go look for Daryl, and he's like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. We need you here. I mean, he does charm him a little bit. We couldn't, this place wouldn't run without you, or whatever he says. So he is sort of trying to manipulate him, but I think this is interesting because so far Merle has had nothing, and the governor helped get him back on his feet and put him in this organization where he can feel useful and whatever. But now that the possibility of finding his brother, that now that he's got a reason to be at odds with the governor. So this is like the seed of that.
Yeah. Well, I just Googled if there was any fan fiction for the governor / Merle. There are 10 works on Archive of Our Own, which is quite low for a fandom, called How the Devil Got His Dog, Ain't Nobody's Bitch, Favor for a Favor, and You Get What You Give, as well as some other ones. So yeah,
Amazing.
I'm not
Those are
condoning
good
any of
titles.
these. A lot of them are
How the
quite
Devil Got His Dog.
quite explicit by the looks of it. But yeah, so some people ship it. There you go. Some of them are quite highly
I
rated.
totally want to read one of those now.
Let's do that later.
So funny. All right, what else I got? Okay, trusting strangers. So
Interesting.
big
Ooh.
theme of The Walking Dead. I think Killer Within it's the title. It's an evocative title. On a literal level, maybe it's more about Andrew being inside the prison and letting the zombies in that kill people.
Yeah.
But going back to the beginning, this show's been about survival and about trust and whether or not to bring people into your circle of trust or your chosen family, which is another big theme of The Walking Dead. I have these people. We need to survive. Can we trust other people? Can we have compassion for other people? Or if we can't, then what do we do? Do we need to kill them? And so in season 1, Merle was the one that actually they decided not to trust anymore. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because of what he was doing on the roof there, threatening everyone, waving his gun around. Most of the threats from season 2 came from within the group one way or another. Herschel keeping zombies in the barn. Randall, who they more or less taken in, and they had to decide whether to trust him, and then ultimately whether they could trust Shane. Now in this season, it's about these prisoners. Andrew's a clear threat, but also can they trust Axel and Oscar? And then, as we talked about over in Woodbury, it's Andrea and Michonne about whether they can trust the governor. So it's kind of like about not knowing for sure whether you can have people in your little circle. And so Axel and Oscar, they want to join the group. Oscar says Andrew was one of the bad dudes in the joint, but most others were good guys. T-Dog's arguing to bring them in. And, he says, look, we send them off packing. We might as well execute them ourselves. And I'm like, wasn't T-Dog one of the ones being okay with killing Randall? Why does he?
Yeah,
Suddenly...
T-Dog, it's an interesting one there, isn't it? He really takes a different kind of stance. He's the one who's advocating for empathy and... Yeah, he's very compassionate at this point.
Seemed like they just needed someone to argue that side, so they picked him.
Yeah, and then he paid for it later in the episode.
Yeah, I know, huh? Glenn says Axel's a little unstable, and I wonder if that was originally supposed to be foreshadowing for Axel being a killer, because as we talked about, I read up a little more on it. Episodes had already been written where Axel beat up Carol and took Beth out into the woods and kill her. And he was going to have a bunch of Henry Rollins style tattoos all over his body, which is why he's buttoned up.
Oh.
And just be kind of like not what you thought he was. But Lou Temple said they had already changed course by the time he started filming. They said the governor needed to kill someone or he'd look impotent. And so he says Axel got the short straw. So he could have actually still been a bad guy even within what we saw. It just wasn't revealed yet.
And he was cut off in his prime.
Yeah, right. Before he got a chance to do anything. But that really would have changed Rick's story if he'd allowed Axel and Oscar to join them, and then Axel killed Beth. I'm glad that didn't happen. Rick's already been through enough.
Yeah, I think the show takes a couple of pivots in seasons 3 and 4 where it could go darker, and it chooses not to. For example, having Judith survive at all, I think is an optimistic streak. I remember thinking
different from the comic.
In season 4 when we saw the empty baby carrier, I was like, oh, that was the only way they could kill a baby off screen, and I was very surprised when she was still alive. Yes. And this with Axel as well, I think that was a swing towards let's make TV rather than a dark graphic novel. That I think worked.
Like Kirkman is a little too fucked up for us.
Yeah.
Because also the one that always stands out to me is Michonne and the governor, where that goes to in the comic. It's the most disturbing thing I've probably ever seen in a comic book.
Yeah, and the weird result is that Michonne's grudge against the governor feels a bit one-sided at certain points. Yeah. You're like, oh, she really fucking hates him for like not that much of a reason, but it still tracks in the end, I think.
I trust you're right, but I haven't seen it in so long I don't remember the details, so it'd be interesting to watch again. Daryl's kind of all over the place about whether to trust Axel and Oscar. He's like, yeah, I get these guys. I could be in there with them. They're not psychos. Well, should we let them in? Hell no.
Yeah.
So-
I found the writing of this quite on the nose. It was fine. But like when Daryl's like, I could just as soon be out there with them. I'm like, no, we know that. Like, you've shown us that. You don't have to tell us it. We know that.
Yeah,
but it
that's a
was
good point.
it was good to have the discussion there, I think.
Yeah. And so Rick says no. And I'd like to think season 1, Rick would have at least considered it, but Shane changed him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And in the end, Oscar proves that at least he's trustworthy. He could have killed Rick. He does seem to contemplate that for a second, but he shoots Andrew instead. And so we don't actually see it, but I think that earns Rick their trust, doesn't it?
Well, Oscar and Axel are super lucky in a way, because as soon as Glenn's like, someone's cut the fences, Rick's like, fucking, and goes over to, I would assume, kill Oscar and Axel, but the alarm starts.
Yeah.
And suddenly he needs them, and Oscar knows how to fix the alarm.
Yeah.
So they get a stay of execution there because they're able to help. And then Oscar gets this wonderful opportunity, where he shows Rick who he really is in that moment. And I liked that they kept the moment of hesitation, because that's real. He knows Andrew. He doesn't know Rick. Is it worth killing someone he knows to impress this guy who he's only just met? Is it worth killing somebody who was in the same situation as him? I think he makes the right decision.
Yeah.
And I think Oscar is so good. I'm so pissed that he dies when he does.
So quickly.
Because that actor he's almost like too good for the role. Like, I don't know, I would watch this guy do Shakespeare. He's great.
Yeah, and that all the prisoner actors used to come to the Walker Stalkers, but I was always waiting for him to come because I wanted to talk to him, and he finally did come to one in San Francisco, but I don't know why he didn't come to a lot, but I agree with you. I was really impressed with him.
He was just so great. I'm looking, it was Vincent M. Ward. Yeah. I'm just looking to see what he's gone on to do. And I'm hope for good things for him, because I don't know, he struck me as somebody who would be a good stage actor. But when I was watching it last night, I was like, oh, damn, I'm really actually pissed that we don't get more time with Oscar, because it would be so interesting for him to have been a part of the group for a sustained period of time. He seems to have had a really good TV career. Just looking through it, like, he's in a lot of stuff and a lot of movies as well, but nothing big that I can see. Yeah.
I mean, just to wrap up the point about trust and trusting strangers, and I'm really actually glad that Oscar did get that opportunity to show who he was, because it would be hard to know who to trust. And the only way to trust people is when they earn your trust. And the only way they can earn it is through actions. Yeah. And giving them the chance to earn their trust is risky. But Rick had no choice here. And so then he got to see what, like you said, who Oscar really is. And now he can trust him for a while.
I also like T-Dog's point. They might have less blood on their hands than we do because they've been locked up. And I think he's raising an interesting point there about the relative moral debt of killing people in the zombie apocalypse and what it costs to survive.
Yeah. T-Dog's deep that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What else?
The calm before the storm. It's a nice day in the prison.
Yes.
They're moving the cars so they can get out if they need to. It's been... I looked at the timeline. We've covered about a week since we last checked in at the prison. That's what Axel and Oscar say when they turn up. They've been clearing it out for a week. Glenn and Maggie are in the tower having a chance to actually be a couple. They're having a giggle about Glenn and Maggie being up there. There's a sense that
the mood is light.
The mood is light. You know, Glenn gives the prisoners some food while they wait to decide what they're doing. They're planning to burn the bodies because they're talking about farming. Herschel comes out on his crutches. He's one tough son of a bitch. Herschel.
That was the really contributed to the mood, just seeing him in his strength and determination. And
Glenn says, can't we just have one good day? Rick and Laurie have this kind of look where Laurie's just like, I don't know. I would say maybe she's a bit like, I'm the perfect woman. I've helped Herschel heal. I'm standing here. She's not thinking that, but the way it's shot, it's like, look at how repentant this woman is. And Rick's like looking at her. And there's this moment where you think, maybe there's hope here. Maybe...
They're nodding at each other.
Maybe all is not lost. And then, fuck, here come the zombies. And everyone, it's chaos, but people make some smart calls in that Glenn goes to shut the fence. He doesn't forget about that. Rick's trying to get to Laurie. Herschel kills a zombie with a crutch, which is amazing. T-Dog notices a gate that's open and goes to close it and gets bit in doing so. There's a really sweet scene with T-Dog and Carol. Carol saying, I'll do what I have to. You're not becoming one of those things. It's the pact, remember? So we can infer that they've got this pact that if one of them is bitten, then another member of the group will put them down. And yeah, T-Dog helps Carol. And T-Dog, you know not what you do. How many lives were both saved and taken in keeping Carol alive that day? Who's to say? Maybe T-Dog's sitting on the other side going, damn, I really shouldn't have done that. But I know originally I think Carol was supposed to die in this episode as well.
Yeah. And I've read a couple different things about why she didn't. Scott Gimple, who was not yet showrunner but was a writer, said he fought against it.
Yeah.
But in another interview, Andrew Lincoln said that Sarah Wayne Callies fought against it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, is that Sarah Wayne Callies was like, don't do that. And she was right. Yeah. She was damn right.
And maybe both are true. But I also, I love that because I love Carol. But also, I always wanted more from T-Dog, and I think Irony Singleton is great. And now I know that he's really struggled to find more roles, and I think it's a shame. And so I just feel like, man, I wish T-Dog would have gotten a better story, gotten more to do, show us what Irony Singleton is made of. And so that maybe he could have had a better career after this or something, I don't know. But I wish it could have gone down a little differently.
I think
I wouldn't want Carol to be gone.
No, I think a big critique I have of season 2 is that they wasted T-Dog.
Yeah.
He got nothing to do in season 2, apart from that meme where he holds up the doll and sort of makes the same face as the doll. That was a real bummer. And it felt